So I hope you enjoyed your President's Day. I did. That's why I didn't have a show yesterday. It was fun driving around in all the rain and craziness that we have down here in Southern California. But in the big news this weekend, honestly, it's kind of should be a thing that if you are not a actual dignitary of the United States, you should not be allowed to speak on the international stage, because it gets a little bit crazy. And we've already talked about Gavin Newsom, but this time, AOC has gotten herself into some crazy swirls of politics that she was not prepared for. But on the other side of the coin, the actual dignitary, the person who was supposed to be there, Marco Rubio, did a fantastic job of dealing with the situation that was given to him. And it's very, very interesting how that whole thing worked out, honestly, for the Trump administration. Then, in somewhat spiritual news, is it crazy that you have to have preachers praying for you and you have to be all prayed up if you're going to address the Candace issue? If you're going to address Candace Owens, is it crazy that you have to be so spiritually prepared to fight? And why is that? At least that's what Graham Allen is being told. And then an Aussie judge, or an Australian judge, called a refugee who raped a woman a wonderful young man, because of course all wonderful young men rape women. That's just how things work apparently in Australia. And Whoopi, Whoopi Goldberg gets whooped. And so we're going to get into that on the Ripple Effect. So welcome to the Ripple Effect. So to start off with, we kind of live in a bizarro world where empathy no longer exists. And by empathy, I mean not empathy for the bad guy, right? The person who's being convicted of a crime, but rather empathy for the victims. Like we've totally switched the world around where the victims don't get any empathy, but the accused get empathy. And this situation in Australia is kind of in Queensland is a very good example of this kind of mentality that's been going on. So because a guy is a refugee, and he's from, what was it, Somalia or something? No, Sudan. He was from Sudan. And because he's a refugee and he had such a hard, rough childhood, because of that, we just really need to, give him a little bit of an extra oomph. So he's only getting 2 years for raping a woman. Now, don't mind you, again, the devastation that is done to this poor woman. Don't mind you that her life is going to be altered forever, but he only has to spend 2 years of his life in jail. So 2 years of his life, her entire life is ruined because of this person's actions. And yet we're supposed to feel sorry for the perpetrator of the crime? I mean, that's what the judge is doing. When you give such a light sentence for this, and it's called the person, literally from the bench, you call the person a wonderful young man. You're insane. You're insane. There should honestly be an extremely long penalty of punishment for judges who pervert justice like this. Back in the good old days, and I'm not condoning this, but back in the good old days, it would have been handled offhand, out in the wild, wild west. But we need to have some kind of punishment for this because it's becoming rampant, where judges have no desire to actually do anything for the victims of a crime, but only defending those perpetrators because, of course, they have some kind of, they have a horrible childhood. Get over it. And then Whoopi, right? Wow. She was going after Trump, saying all the time that Trump, he's in those Epstein files. He's horrible. He's wicked. He's terrible. It's just, oh man, we should tear him down. He shouldn't be president anymore. He's just, oh wow. And then all of a sudden, revelation. Well, just because someone's in the Epstein files doesn't mean that they're bad. Really, Whoopi? When did you come down with that opinion? Oh, as soon as it was discovered that you were in the Epstein files. You see, the DOJ released a document of 300 celebrity names, and on there was Whoopi. Whoopi had been in the Epstein files. So apparently, according to her own, accusations versus Trump, she must be like one of the worst pedophiles that has ever existed in the history of the world, because that's how that works. No matter that, like we covered in our last episode, that just because you're in the Epstein files, and for example, Trump, who Epstein literally hated, that doesn't matter. No, because if you're in it, you must be horrible. So, hey, shame on you. Back at you, Whoopi. You deserve everything that's coming to you. And then Graham Allen, he's an American conservative commentator who, by the way, has had billions of views, so just slightly less than me, of course. He mentioned that he was going to do a commentary on Candace Owens. He was going to go down a breakdown of all of her crimes, of all of her horrible things that she's been doing to TPUSA and Erica Kirk. Not just Erica Kirk, but Erica Kirk's family and the children and all that. I mean, there are wild stuff coming out of Candace Owens about that kind of stuff. And he said the craziest thing to him was that as soon as he announced this, every pastor that he knew that knew of him and cared for him in the slightest was calling him up saying, oh, I need to pray for you. Oh, man. Wow. Oh, you're doing that? Whoa. You need prayer. You need some serious prayer. And the question that then gets asked is, why? Why is calling out Candace something that requires, so much prayer? It's almost like, I mean, I've heard this expression somewhere before, scratching my head trying to think of it. Something about these ones only, sorry, I'll get there in a second. These ones only come out by prayer and fasting. Are they saying that she's a demon? Yes. Yeah, that's basically what they're saying. She's a demon. Now, she may not be physically herself a demon, but her actions prove that she's, if not demon possessed, I mean, she's at least demon influenced in her actions. I'm not saying that lightly. I'm not saying that flippantly. I'm saying that for someone who loves the Bible and studies the Bible. I'm not saying that flippantly at all. When you have a heart so desperately wicked like she does, it explains a lot. It explains so much of what's going on for her to be demon influenced at least. And the fact that all these pastors are deeming it necessary to defend him with a shield of prayer tells you a lot that you need to know about Candace. And if you can't see that, and you're a Candace supporter and you can't see that, it tells a lot about you too. That you're allowing that demonic influence to control your life. Now, the AOC videos are running rampant everywhere. And if you haven't seen them, then good on you because you're not online. And then good for you. You shouldn't be so much, right? Well, the biggest conclusion that a lot of people are pulling from it is that AOC is not really a big contender for president anymore. There are a lot of people are striking her off and saying that she's not going to be able to run because the answers that she's giving are so bizarre to things and they're so lacking of intelligence. But I want to give a different perspective on this, and I know every single commentator says that, but I got follow me here. I got somewhere I'm going with this. I think AOC, if you watch what she's saying and what she's doing, there's some stuff that just rattles off of her tongue and rattles off of her mind. And it was all prepped. She had prep work going into this. And she prepped all the things that she knew were safe. But the problem is, I think this is the main thing. There are so many topics that even the Democrats do not know where they land on. That they don't know how to answer these questions. So she was asked about China and Taiwan. And because the Democrats are fighting like, well, Trump likes Taiwan, so does that mean we're supposed to stand for China? And he's in a trade war with China. Should we stand with China? I'm so confused. But also Taiwan is also a long support, and we don't really like China sometimes. So what should we go with? And she had no idea what to answer because she's not. I guess it comes down to this: conservatives have principles. They have beliefs that matter and are rooted in something, the Bible, okay? They're rooted in fact. Men can only be men and women can only be women. That's a fact. It's easy for us as conservatives to stand behind that and say these things because we understand it's fact. The problem is when you listen to someone like an AOC trying to explain these things, they have to kind of twist and maneuver and shape it. Because it doesn't make sense. What they're trying to defend doesn't make sense. And because they have to allow every sin and every vice into their side, they have to make it work. And sometimes you can't mesh them together. And so they have a hard time doing it. And she just is not a good enough liar because she hasn't been doing it long enough. That's it. I don't think she's completely stupid. I don't think she's highly intelligent, but I'm not going to attack her intelligence and say she's stupid. I don't think so. I think she has what she needs to say. And when she started talking about the things that she wanted to say, wanted to talk about, and policies that she cared about, it was very coherent. It was very clear. It was the words she was using were better. I mean, goodness gracious, she was more clear than Candace Owens, because Candace Owens can't get just about any words in the English language to be the right ones or say them correctly. Even ones that are rather simple. If you have not seen Ben Shapiro's takedown of her on that one, please do. It is hysterical. Now, enough with AOC. I think if you won the winning ticket, Trump, for the midterms and for whoever's running for president next time around, I got the winning ticket for you when it comes to not the runners, not the people running for office, but for the people that speak for your administration. Keep it to Marco Rubio and Tom Homan, and you have a slam dunk. If you only, from now on, allowed Marco Rubio and Tom Homan to talk about anything coming out of any of this administration, you'd have a slam dunk for the midterms. Because Marco Rubio has the ability to show that he's human. Some people, when they look at J.D. Vance, they don't see human. In fact, he's almost harsh. And it's kind of, and I don't want to go this extreme because some people get upset when I do this, but there's like a certain type of religion that Marco Rubio is, and a certain type of religion that Vance is. And you can say, well, they're both Catholic. Right. They're both Catholic, but they're not both the same type of Catholic. And there's a certain type that is very hostile and harsh, like J.D. Vance. And there's a certain type that are like the old school, old style ones that are more like the Rubios. And you can tell in Rubio that he really does care about the people around him. And when he's talking to the nations of Europe, he's not just saying platitudes to make them happy. And he had a standing ovation. He's not just saying it to say that. He's saying because he wants a result out of them. And he understands that without that result coming from them, that we will fail and they will fail. And he understands that. And he's able to get that across. And the same thing with Tom Homan. He's able to show just this sincerity, this care, this concern, that shows that even though he's taking people to jail, even though he's arresting people left and right, that he cares. And because he cares, he's not the Bavino out there just ripping things apart. That he's someone who can build. And that's what we need. We need people with the ability to speak and build in our group, in our organization, in our side. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you enjoyed your weekend, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the week as we get in there. I was watching someone today, and they're talking about the midterms and how the whole midterms is getting set up. And it's actually America Uncovered. He's Chris Chappell, and he said between now and the midterms is going to be something like 30 decades of news. And I was like, that's not even a lie at all. That's not a lie at all. The news happens so fast that we cannot go from one day to another without having major events happening. So welcome to that time period in life. Thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. It tremendously helps the channel. And I appreciate every last one of you. We're almost to 130 subscribers, which is more than I ever thought we would get. So let's just keep going. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.